welcome to the season premiere of Just Be You After Dark with me, your host, Mahogany Reynolds. I'm excited to create a conversation with you about relationships, intimacy, and love. This is a grown-up place to express and explore those topics openly, hopefully walking away enlightened, empowered, and inspired. Please be sure to subscribe so you can get alerts on newly added episodes. Plus, watch Just Be You After Dark live online, my fabulous new late night talk show. Join the Just Be You After Dark Facebook group to keep the conversation going. Welcome to the show. Welcome, beautiful people. Tonight's episode of Just Be You After Dark is Dead and Broken Relationships. What are the red flags? How do you heal? And what is the cure? In the first 3 debut episodes of Just Be You After Dark, I openly discussed intimacy and romance within relationships. I jumped into the deep end of the pool during those vivid episodes. For this episode, I'm going to explore the shallow end of that pool, the side where if you're not careful, you could hurt yourself or someone else. Because it's easier to hit the bottom when you're in the shallow water. It's also easier to see what's going on underneath that water when you explore the shallow end. Many relationships have hit rock bottom. So for this episode of Just Be You After Dark, we're going to dive and we're going to take a dead look in the face of dead and broken relationships. The warning signs, the red flags, the dangers, the casualties, and some healing tools. This is part 1 of a 2-part series. Being in a dead and broken relationship is akin to bondage. It restricts you, limits you, hinders you. The key to break those chains of bondage is called the truth. You have to be courageous enough to stand in your truth. There's a frequently quoted biblical scripture that says, "The truth shall set you free." Now, who doesn't want freedom? I know I do. Now, what I'm talking about here is emotional freedom, mental freedom. No woman wants to be enslaved by hurt, anger, or brokenness. And no man wants to be enslaved by pain, frustration, or rejection. A dead or broken relationship riddled with dysfunction, bickering, arguing, infighting, and disconnect is emotional and mental enslavement. And it's exhausting. In fact, you can even develop what's called battle fatigue. And then you feel trapped, stuck, hindered, and mad as hell about all of the above. Can we be real? Now, with all that being said, what is the key to being emancipated from this enslavement? Now, most people will jump to breaking up or divorce. But unless you unpack and gut out all of those issues, behaviors, mindsets, and patterns that existed in that relationship, that existed before the relationship started, all you're going to do is drag all of that mess to the next plantation, and you'll find yourself in emotional bondage all over again, because you'll still have an enslaved mentality. Let's not do that, shall we? Let's bathe in this water, get wet, and cleanse ourselves of brokenness. And you know what? It all starts in the mind. If you listen to episode 1, 2, and 3 of Just Be You After Dark, you'll hear me speak a lot about the power of the mind. I am fascinated with the human mind. I think it is the most powerful thing in the universe. And while I am not a licensed psychologist or anything of that nature, I am a woman who's been through a lot, a woman who has grown through all of it. A woman of a certain age who's lived my life to the fullest, despite the numerous obstacles and challenges I've had to face and overcome. Life is my university, and I'm still learning. We all are. My credentials are the various journeys I've been on within loveships, friendships, family matters, and intimacy. And my knowledge comes from extensive reading, research, and most importantly, a natural gift of discernment and my own self work. Now, I'm not afraid to share what I've learned based upon what I've been through. So, yes, I believe the key to being emancipated from emotional slavery is in the mind. The beautiful singing trio from the 90s, In Vogue, they had a hit song called Free Your Mind. The chorus said, "Free your mind and the rest will follow." Now, when it comes to emotional enslavement, the mind is powerful because, on the one hand, you could be in emotional chains. Okay, you could have emotional chains shackled around you, weighing you down, and limiting your movement. However, your mind could still be free. On the other hand, your chains could be cut and your emancipation granted in the physical sense, yet you still carry an enslaved mindset. So technically, you are still imprisoned. It all starts in the mind. You know when something is not right, when a relationship is dead, when a marriage is dysfunctional, but yet and still you just go through the motions, either pretending or putting on a brave face, when on the inside your heart is broken. And a broken heart can't pump freely. Its flow is restricted, and that's not healthy. In fact, it's hard to love others when you are suffering from a broken heart. Look, I don't know who I'm talking to tonight, but my spirit tells me somebody listening knows exactly what I'm talking about. You're frustrated, hurting, and trying to figure out what to do about it. Can I tell you that trying to pretend like a relationship or a marriage isn't broken, dead, or dysfunctional is like trying to ignore a toothache? Now, let me break that down to you. Now, teeth have enamel, and that enamel is designed to protect the tooth. That enamel has to be well taken care of, otherwise the tooth will be damaged. If the tooth becomes damaged, it needs to be addressed. Ignoring the damage won't heal it. Temporary solutions to numb the pain is just that, it's temporary. It can't take the place of repairing the damage. Much like sex can temporarily numb the pain of a broken relationship or marriage, but it won't fix the brokenness. No amount of good sex or sweet romance will heal that brokenness. It just takes your mind off of it for a little while. That's all fine and good. If you like shallow relationships, you're satisfied with that. But most of us want something deeper. After a while, you get bored swimming in the shallow end of the pool, okay? And you want to explore the deeper side. When a relationship is broken, much like a damaged tooth, it's sensitive. Every little thing you say or do triggers that sensitivity. So while she's pissed that you left your dirty laundry on the floor yet again, it's really not about the laundry. It's something deeper. And when he's mad at you for not calling when you were running late coming home from work with dinner, it's not about dinner. It's something underneath the surface that's been triggered, okay? Much like drinking or eating something hot or cold or something sweet can trigger pain in a damaged tooth. Why? Because it strikes a nerve. Nerves are sensitive, and when triggered, they hurt like hell. When a dentist diagnoses a damaged tooth, they will recommend a repair of some kind. Either way, repair is needed to both promote healing and stop the pain, and to promote and prevent further damage. The human heart is the same way. It needs healing in order to stop the pain and to prevent further damage. Now, you can try to ignore it, suppress it, or numb it, but the damage is still there, okay? You're not fooling anybody, especially yourself. So just go ahead and try to live with a damaged tooth. maybe out of fear of going to the dentist or whatever the case may be. Sooner or later, the dentist will tell you you're going to have to get that tooth taken care of. Otherwise, it could get worse and might even need to be pulled. Ouch. Getting the tooth pulled freaking hurts, okay? And why go through all of that damn pain when all you had to do is address the problem in the beginning? Instead of doing what most people do, all of us are guilty of it at some point in a relationship. Avoiding, deflecting, blaming, and projecting. Now the situation is worse, and in some cases, you have to suffer a loss. Do you hear where I'm going with this? You can't afford to pretend everything is all good when it ain't. Most of the time, someone in the relationship is afraid of speaking their truth for fear of rocking the boat. Well, you know what I say? Be a damn boat rocker, okay? Tip that sucker over if you have to. If you sense danger ahead, say something. Somebody tried to warn the captain of the Titanic of danger ahead, and well, we all know how that story ends. Now, I have no problem rocking boats. I'm a bona fide self-proclaimed boat rocker. Had I not been, I would have never had the courage to leave my hometown of Detroit to build a career in the entertainment industry in New York. Now, my first job in New York City was at a major entertainment industry magazine. It was a good job, but I wasn't fully content. I knew there was more inside of me, more that God was calling me to do with my creativity. God was never, leading me down a misleading path. He was always showing me exactly where I was heading. So good was never good enough for me, because good ain't great, and great ain't excellent, and excellent ain't exceptional, and exceptional ain't extraordinary. I've never been content with a mediocre, ordinary life. An old friend of mine from college once called me extra. I decided to take that remark as a compliment versus the shade the shade it was probably intended to be. I just flipped that around and took it as a compliment, because you know what? I am extraordinary, honey. I walk, live, and breathe an extraordinary life. And while challenging the people around me to strive for extraordinary too. See, I'm a firm believer that I am to live an abundant life. That is what God told me. And if you're listening to this podcast, I believe that you are meant to live an abundant life too. Who told you that you have to settle for mediocrity? Lies. You are a masterpiece, honey, a divine creation, meant to do something amazing in the world. And guess what? You get to decide what that amazing thing is. And you don't have to compare your amazing to someone else's amazing. You don't have to compare yourself to anyone. In fact, I heard someone say that comparing yourself to someone else is an insult to God. When God created you, He broke the mold, as the saying goes. You are one of a kind. So with all that being said, why on earth would you stay in a dead or broken relationship if you're being emotionally drained or worse, abused? You deserve better. So either get some help to mend that brokenness or move on. Now, if you opt to move on, then it is essential that you pack healing in your suitcase. Because if you don't, then all you're going to do is drag all of those broken pieces right along with you. And that, my beautiful one, is utter foolishness. It is my intention to empower you and encourage you to examine yourself first, then examine the quality of your intimate relationships. And it is my intention to stimulate, to have an open and honest conversation about what's not working. I'm bold enough to say the things that most women, especially married women, are thinking and feeling, but are afraid or hesitant to say. I am bold enough to say the things that many men, especially married men, are afraid to face and try to avoid. Together, we are going to elevate to the next level of intimacy. So let's jump right in. Don't be shy. Thank you, beautiful one, for listening to this episode of Just Be You After Dark. Become a part of the conversation. Post your comments, experiences, testimonies, suggestions, and your questions on the Facebook group. And hey, know this, life is a learning process. We're all in this together. Be sure to join the mailing list and subscribe. I often have giveaways that you don't want to miss. Until next time, I'm your host, Mahogany Reynolds, and this is what I always say. Be blessed and just be you.